Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
I'm not right, I'm not left, I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat, I'm not libertarian. I'm a human being that wants the best for the rest of the human beings, and I want some common sense, and I want to be left alone. I want to pay low taxes. I want to be able to go build things and prosper and get all the things that have been promised to me in the Constitution of this country. That's what I want. And until people wake the up and stop identifying with left or right, Republican, Democrat, black, white, gay, straight, all the shit, until we figure that out and stop doing that, we will continue to be abused by these people who hold the power.
Amen, Andy Frisella, founder of 75 Hard. You guys know what 75 Hard is? I've got a couple buddies that do it like sporadically, but it's a program called 75 Hard where for 75 days, here, hold on, let me read this to you. It says 75 Hard is a mental toughness program created by entrepreneur Andy Frisella. And despite what many think, it's not a fitness challenge, at least not entirely. It's more of a no excuses lifestyle boot camp designed to help you build discipline, confidence, and grit through a strict daily tasks for 75 consecutive days. Here's what you have to do every single day for 75 days. No cheats, no substitutions, no compromise. Follow a diet, any structured diet of your choosing, but no cheat meals or alcohol. Okay, I could do that. Do 2 45-minute workouts per day, and one must be outdoors, no matter the weather. Okay, I can do that. Drink 1 gallon, so 3.78 liters of water. I already do that. Read 10 pages of a non-fiction personal development or business book. Oh, fantastic. You guys can read my book. My book is like 198 pages, so let's see, how many days is that divided by? Well, that's like 20 days. So Deep Shallow Dive Into You could be one of them. And then take a progress photo every day. That's really not that hard, actually. I think the hardest part of 75 Hard would be the 2 45-minute workouts. I guess, let me see if it tells you what defines a workout. Obviously, I think walking, I mean, if that's a workout, gosh, I easily walk for 45 minutes a day, multiple times a day. And then I guess lifting weights. But that doesn't look that hard, actually. You know, I will say this. I have a couple buddies, and actually this is kind of rooted in some Navy SEAL stuff, which I'm going to tell you something in a second. But it says, bottom line. Well, actually, before I say that, criticism and warnings. The program is extremely rigid, no rest days, no flexibility. It can lead to burnout or injury if you're not already relatively fit. Mental toughness is great, but so is sustainability. This ain't that. Okay, I totally agree with that, and I'll give you more about that in a second. Bottom line, 75 Hard is like a mental Navy SEAL crash course disguised as a lifetime or a lifestyle challenge, not for those looking for balance. But if you're craving a reset and want to go full beast mode, it'll do the trick. Want a breakdown of the pros and cons? Okay, no ChatGPT, that's good. All right, interesting. So this guy, Andy Frisella, I actually really do like this guy. He has a lot of great kind of takes, and I've shared a lot of them on the Deep Shallow Dive Instagram page, and probably should be bringing more of them to you guys. I actually reached out to see if I can get him on the podcast. Ironically, 2 seconds ago, I paused and I said, let me see if I can get this guy on the podcast. And so I sent him an email, and we'll see what happens. But, I will say this, and this is funny. As part of the email, I told his team, I said in episode number 329, which airs on Thursday, June 12th. I started out with a clip from Andy. So who knows? Maybe they'll listen to what I'm about to say and not like it, but they shouldn't not like it because it's not bad. It's the truth. And what I was going to say was, I really do love the discipline that 75 Hard brings. My only criticism of it is the same criticism I would give to people that would call me and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing a 7-day fresh vegetable juicing cleanse. And that is when you do something so concentrated for a period of time, can you consistently then maintain it? And with 75 hard, I will say this. I have one friend in particular, actually former Navy SEAL guy, total badass. And, there's several times throughout the year, not that many, maybe 2 or 3, because obviously it has to go on for 75 days. But no, maybe not even 3, maybe twice a year, I will see him posting on his Instagram that he's doing 75 hard. So obviously, he's crushing it for 75 days. And then, I don't know, he takes a bunch of time off and then he crushes it again for 75 days. I guess the question is the time between, what is he doing? Is he losing a bunch of weight or getting in mental toughness and even better physical shape? And then does he relapse? Does he drink again? Does he, put all that weight back on? I guess I should ask him, but that's my whole thing with all these programs, all these concentrated programs that are really, I guess, time limit inspired. I mean, that's how I felt about, that fresh vegetable juicing cleanse craze. I tried it one time and actually that was kind of what made me realize that's not the way to add fresh vegetable juicing to your life, because I hated it. Like, it was miserable. First of all, I was miserable for and I think I did a 24-hour or maybe I did a 48-hour. No, I don't even think I could last 48 hours. I did a 24-hour juice cleanse and I didn't enjoy it. And I realized by the end of it, this would turn me off from drinking fresh vegetable juice. So anyway, I'll have to ask my buddy about the 75 hard. Honestly, the things that it talks about, they're really not that difficult. You could probably, oh, you know what? I just thought of an idea. 365 hard. I'm going to take Andy's 75 hard and just make you do it every day. 365 hard. Okay, there you go. Boom. That's how and just like that, I have just launched a new business. No, just kidding. I hope he gets back to me. I'd like to bring him on the podcast. I will tell you guys, man, I recorded some really good interviews. So tomorrow I am going to release the interview I did with Greg Stoker. Remember Greg Stoker, liberal versus lefty? Thank you, Greg Stoker. I told him that actually, and I think that gets captured at the beginning of the episode. But I'm going to play that episode for you tomorrow. First of all, it's only like 30 minutes, so it's almost like a regular episode. And then basically we're talking about pretty much what I would talk about anyway in terms of what's going on. And that is these ICE raids and then in Los Angeles and then Palantir and what's going on there. And really just the unrest that the Trump administration is causing. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of what's going on. And I will tell you this, I've talked to several friends in Los Angeles. I told you about my buddy, actually, he said it was okay to say his name, my buddy Roger, who is the boxer. And, I talked to him and I said, do you think this stuff is fake? What's going on? And he said, I think they're rage baiting out there for sure to make the protests worse. And then I said, do you think that the Republicans could be doing this on purpose to basically allow them to implement their plans for the digital surveillance? And that would be the whole Palantir process. And he wrote back, yes. So there you have it. There you have it. We've figured it out. By the way, I did want to clarify something from, when was that? I guess that would have been Tuesday's episode. When I talked about, so here's the confusion right now. So when I reference the 2020 BLM playbook, okay, the 2020 BLM playbook was absolutely something that was implemented by, this is really the Democratic liberal left. Thank you, Greg Stoker. And it would have been, the name George Soros is the one that gets associated to it a lot. If you don't know who George Soros is, he's basically a Hungarian, I think he's like a Hungarian Jewish billionaire whom is kind of known to be part of, what they refer to as the globalists and the deep state. And that is a lot of times associated with the Democratic Party. And so the globalist deep state are people like George Soros. They're people like, the Clintons are on there, the Obamas are on there, the Bidens are on there. But so are other people. And this is crazy, man. This is crazy how my thinking is just, it continues to pivot. But as I mentioned in one of these episodes, again, I'll be very honest. I always thought Trump was the guy that was going to break apart this deep state, break apart this uniparty, break apart this permanent Washington, all of that stuff. And, the question becomes, is he still doing that and then creating his own version of that? And that version is the technocrat oligarchs, the Elons of the world, the Peter Thiels of the world, the Palantirs of the world. JD Mass falls in that. Vivek falls in that. Are they trying to basically in concert either replace that that globalist deep state, which is, again, the George Soros of the world, Obama's, Clintons, whoever else is part of that, Nancy Pelosi. In all honesty, I also group people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and, the Republican uniparty and that concept of permanent Washington. By the way, somebody asked me, they're like, that's a great phrase, permanent Washington. Did you make that up? And no, I did not. I got that from Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson talks about permanent Washington. But the question becomes, is Team Trump and Team Republicans, are they creating their own version of, instead of, I guess, globalist deep state, let's call them technocratic deep state? Or even more sinister, are these two deep states kind of going to join forces because they realize by the two of them joining forces, I don't know, they could be one giant deep state and maybe they don't love each other, but they love the power that this brings more than they hate each other. I'm serious. I think you have to take all these options in, because what's happening in Los Angeles right now with these riots and then the response from President Trump and that administration, it's off. It's off. It's totally off. Like, I am literally agreeing with Gavin Newsom right now. I know that's going to sound crazy for some of you to hear, but I'm absolutely agreeing with Gavin Newsom right now. Let me play this.
I want to say a few words about the events of the last few days. This past weekend, federal agents conducted large-scale workplace raids in and around Los Angeles. Those raids continue as I speak. California is no stranger to immigration enforcement, but instead of focusing on undocumented immigrants with serious criminal records and people with final deportation orders, a strategy both parties have long supported, this administration is pushing mass deportations, indiscriminately targeting hardworking immigrant families, regardless of their roots or risk.
All right, so he's not wrong. He's really not wrong, targeting my man Jose and Miguel down at the Home Depot. I mean, all you're doing is you're screwing up my weekend moving plans. All right, I shouldn't make jokes, but that was kind of a joke. That was mean. I shouldn't have said that. No, that was kind of funny. All right, let it go. Anyway, he's definitely right. Like the way they arbitrarily went at the places they went at, this wasn't about removing, hard criminals off the street, hard illegal aliens that are criminals off the street. So, it was a flex by Trump for sure. But more than anything, there's an ulterior motive to this. They want to use this in order to do something else. And that something else is implement more of their digital surveillance system.
What's happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people.
I did not even know he was going to say that. That's funny. I haven't listened to this whole clip. All right, let's listen to the rest.
A deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar scene played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested. A 4-year-old girl taken. Families separated. Friends, quite literally, disappearing.
All right, so I agree with him on all of that. I really do. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and here's where you kind of have to think through it a little bit. And that is, so they're doing all these, which are ridiculous. And so then people are coming out to protest. You know, if you listen to the episode with Danica from Code Pink, I thought she said something super interesting. And she said that when I said, do you notice a difference between the Biden administration and the Trump administration? She said, you know, people are more willing to protest against the Trump administration, which totally makes sense. And so with people being more willing to protest against the Trump administration and the fact that, you know, California is a very, very liberal state, and obviously you have people who are looking for any opportunity to protest and take a selfie and post it on their Instagram and look like a faux activist. You know, that is a breeding ground for people coming out to do this stuff. So now all of a sudden you're making all these, you know, honestly ludicrous arrests outside of Home Depot. And so people are pissed off. So now people are gathering, people are getting together. And then here comes that next level. So when the normal person is protesting and going to something, I don't know if you've ever done it yourself. I never have. But, you know, if I go to downtown Los Angeles in order to be part of a protest, my initial move is not going to be to throw a cinder block off a bridge onto a cop car. Honestly, I don't think most normal people, their immediate thought process is not to do that. Most people are going to go, they might. Actually, you know what's funny? This is no different than what Paul Davis told us on the January 6th riots. Remember, if you listen to the episode with Paul Davis, I said, you know, were people being destructive or were they just milling around? He's like, most people were just milling around. They were on their phones. They were taking pictures. So if you think about it, 90%, probably 99% of these people at these protests, or if you want to call them riots, they're probably normal, everyday people who, quite frankly, don't have the guts to grab a cinder block and throw it onto the windshield of a cop car at the bottom of a bridge. So then the question becomes, who's doing that? And again, don't put it past anything or any group to not be paying paid agent provocateurs in order to do all that. If you followed the Diddy trial in New York, there was a company, it looks like there was a company that was basically doing some type of Diddy crypto meme coin, and they were paying people. I mean, this is all on camera. These videos are all over Instagram, but they were paying people $20 to wear these free Diddy shirts. And so they're paying people $20 to wear these free Diddy shirts. Now, if the people did not capture the process of these people getting paid and putting on the shirts, they would think all these people were real Diddy supporters showing up with free Diddy shirts. And when I say free, I don't mean they did get the shirt for free, but they wanted Diddy to be released. You would think that they were actually true supporters, but it turns out that was all fake. And basically this company had, spent maybe a few hundred or a few $1,000 or $1,000 paying, 50, 100 people to wear a free Diddy shirt in order to pump this meme coin. I mean, how crazy is that? All right, let me see if there's anything else from Gavin. Man, me and Gavin are friends on this one.
In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different.
All right, let me jump in. I don't know what he's going to say was different about it. But again, what I am seeing, and basically the friends of mine I talked to in Los Angeles, first of all, again, this is isolated to two parts of LA, which that is insane. So you're talking about like less than probably 0.1% of the square footage of Los Angeles is involved in all this. And then secondly, again, my point is Trump sending 700 Marines, and then Trump also federalizing the National Guard. It's an overreaction. It's not a reaction. It's a complete overreaction, but it's an overreaction that's being done on purpose. And by the way, the reason this is happening in Los Angeles is because Los Angeles and Texas are the absolute mecca of the Hispanic community in the United States. And this is not going to happen in Texas because Texas is a ridiculously red Republican state and Governor Greg Abbott is buddy-buddy with Trump. So it's not going to happen there. It's going to happen in California because Trump and Gavin Newsom give the appearance that they hate each other and that they're arch enemies and all that. So it's definitely going to happen in Los Angeles because it's also the center stage for the media. So you're going to get complete, unbelievable media coverage because it's happening in LA. All right, let's listen to the rest.
What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets illegally and for no reason.
Oh man, it is an interesting day when Ray D agrees with Gavin Newsom. Isn't that funny? See? Actually, that should kind of tell you guys something. That is truly being unbiased, because I've had some mean takes on Gavin. I really have. But again, I'm totally with him on this. Let me play a great take. I think I've played this guy before. He goes by Lenny Boy, and he kind of reminds me of our guy James Lee, but a little bit different. But listen to this take. I think this makes a lot of sense.
There is a hidden agenda behind the LA riots. They are funded, just like the BLM riots were funded, all by the same NGOs. The same NGOs that opened the borders across Europe.
By the way, next week I'll do a little more of a deep dive on the concept of NGOs. I think you may have heard that term, but it stands for non-government organization. And it's basically a way to create a organization that then gets funded by the government, but it's not directly under the government. It's kind of being shown to be, quite frankly, the methodology to do the fuckery that they want to do through that organization. And ironically, it has a good reputation. Like they're like, oh, I started an NGO or I work for an NGO, as if that's like a charitable thing. But fundamentally, it just becomes a way to accomplish a kind of nefarious goal without directly being attached to the government, because you are attached to this non-government organization or NGO.
What do you think is going to happen when you bring in millions of illegal immigrants with a different belief system, with different values, and mix them together with patriots in a struggling economy? What do you think is going to happen when the media keeps saying on one hand how patriots are oppressive, and on the other hand how immigrants are raising the crime statistics? It will build hatred and resentment between us, and we're falling for it. We must understand the hidden agenda.
All right, you can't see the video, but throughout the video of that, he actually showed George Soros and he showed like the Black Lives Matter stuff. But more than anything, he really kind of made it out to be, again, what the Democrats or the globalists, their blueprint that they've done starting in 2020. Now, here is where he takes it next, and he doesn't necessarily say, and by the way, the Republicans are doing the same thing, but this is their playbook. But that's what I want you to realize. The Republicans are doing the exact same thing, and then this is their playbook.
And that hidden agenda is a digital ID, social credit score, surveillance state. And the only way to bring it in is to keep us divided and create these crises. They own both sides of the conflict, and they need us to pick a side.
Okay, I totally dig that. They own both sides of the conflict, and they need us to pick a side. Now, here is the coup de grace.
But what if we don't? And what happens when we all become aware of how we're being manipulated? Then this circus will have no choice but to die on its own.
That's it, Lenny boy. That's it. Seriously, what if we don't pick a side? And what if we don't engage? Like, imagine how amazing it would be if nobody shows up at these LA riots. Like, nobody shows up. Absolutely zero people are there, and basically all these National Guards. Oh my God, I just thought of a funny, what if I can get that as a viral video? I can say, this is a plea to everybody. Don't show up. Literally zero people show up, and let the 700 Marines and the 2,000 National Guard that have been commandeered, that from what I hear, they're chilling in a warehouse somewhere. They're not even out on active duty. That's pretty funny. I might turn that into a video. Huh, interesting. I need to start recording more video, man. I really do. Okay, anyway, all right, I'm at 26 minutes. Let me talk about a couple more things and then tell you what to expect for tomorrow. By the way, totally forgot to say thank you for all the kind messages about the episode yesterday with Dr. Mimi Syed. I mean, man, I got some incredible messages with that. And gosh, I had one friend who, she's a doctor, and she said, hey, would you mind putting me in touch with her? I'd like to go over to Gaza. How crazy is that? She's going to do it. She's actually a doctor from Chicago, and she wants to go over and help. She said, I was so moved by what Mimi talked about that, I'd like to try and go do my part. So there's a big thing coming up called the March on Gaza, and a ton of veterans and a ton of people from all over the world are actually going. So some pretty high profile people. Actually, a lot of the folks that I've had on the show, I know that Josephine Gilbo, remember her? She's going. Caleb Dix, remember the episode with Caleb? He's going to be there. I don't know if the Dowd brothers are going, but there's a lot of people going. And then a few of these doctors are going. I don't know if Mimi's going. I'll have to ask her. But anyway, it's pretty wild that my friend who listened to the episode, who doesn't even listen to the podcast on a regular basis, she told me, which I was like, okay. Actually, I don't mind when I hear that. Of course, I don't expect everyone in the world or everybody that I know to listen, although that would be nice. But anyway, she said, I don't know, something about that last clip you posted on Instagram caught my attention, obviously because I think she's a doctor. She's an emergency physician as well. And so obviously Mimi was an emergency physician also. And yeah, man, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. It caught her attention, and I don't know, I connected the two of them. And when I connect people like that, I kind of just step back and out of it and let them do their thing. So we'll see what happens. The other thing is, oh man, the other episodes actually, you know what, guys? I am probably going to get back to releasing 5 episodes a week, mainly because I've got so many great guest interviews. And so screw it. I'm just going to put the content out there. It's probably might be more than you guys want, but you know what? You can catch up whenever you catch up. So the 2 other interviews that I did yesterday actually was with my good friend Jesse Mass, and Jesse was Nelly, hip hop artist Nelly. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. I am getting so hot, I want to take my clothes off. You remember Nelly, bandage on his face. I actually did a lot of work with these guys. They were my client back in the day. And so JD was their manager, and dude, we had some wild times. We really did. And we had some wild business deals and all of that. So we got into it. Not into it in a bad way. We had a great episode where he really like is going to help you guys understand what it's like to manage. I mean, one of the biggest music artists in the world for a certain period of time. And Nelly was that. It was really awesome. It was a great episode. And then I did an episode with this guy named Cobbler, and this is going to be pretty fascinating as well. Matt actually is a guy that got hired to investigate the death of a Navy SEAL, which was a buddy of his from high school, this guy named Job Price. And basically, I discovered Matt through J Slay USA. He did an episode with J Slay USA along with that guy named Rob O'Neill. Remember that clip I played for you guys where it was like a former Marine or a former Navy SEAL, and he's like, well, I killed this guy because I went into his bedroom at 2 a.m. So why did I go to his bedroom at 2 a.m? Well, because George Bush told me that I had to. Well, why did George Bush tell you I have to? Remember, it was like the 5 whys. And then Rob O'Neill was the guy that was like, and then I thought, like, what if I had a coffee with this guy in Paris? Like, would I have liked him? And I just killed him because some politician told me to? I'll actually find that clip and I'm going to insert it into the episode. But anyway, Matt did 3 episodes with J Slay USA and Rob, and I've watched one of them. I'm going to watch the other 2. But anyway, Matt reached out to me and said, hey, Jeremy spoke highly of you. I'd love to tell this story about my friend Job, who supposedly, air quotes, committed suicide as a Navy SEAL, which is pretty shady, while on duty in Afghanistan. Anyway, I'm not going to ruin it. There's a lot more to the story. But the other cool thing was, as part of Matt's investigation, which, by the way, Matt got hired by Job's dad and his sister to investigate. So as part of that investigation, he investigated the hell out of Osama bin Laden's killing by SEAL Team 6, which, by the way, guess what? That Rob O'Neill guy that I've had, I guess, clipped a couple times on the podcast, the reason why that guy's clips are all over Instagram is because, again, I'm going to use the word supposedly, he's the one who killed Osama bin Laden. So he is the one that is kind of credited, although it's argued online, but he is the one that the U.S. government gives credit from SEAL Team 6 that he was the one who killed Osama bin Laden. So anyway, my episode is with Matt. It's not with Rob, but I've also reached out to Rob to see if I can get him to come on completely separately. All right, everybody, that is it. 32 minutes. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your evening. Seriously, I'm asking you guys, I'm actually now talking to all of my Republican Trump fans. I am begging you not to have Trump worship syndrome. I am begging you to look at this with an objective point of view, because I'm telling you, it's not the same dude. It's not. Something has changed. Priorities have changed, directions have changed, alliances have changed, allegiances have changed. Okay, I'll stop. You get my point. Don't have Trump worship syndrome. Keep your mind open to everything. Nobody gives a shit about you, okay? Trump doesn't give a shit about you. Biden doesn't give a shit about you. They give a shit about themselves and their group. So you know what? Let's not fall for that trap. The theme of this episode, carrying from Lenny Boy to Andy Frisella from the beginning to the end, is, do not fall into the trap of getting divided. I really mean that. So anyway, that's the takeaway. All right, call a spade, call your parents.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You. Available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.